Hey, this is Steve with Real-Time Music Solutions, and today we're going to take a look at the more advanced features of our reroute system in Sinfonia 3. In our SF3 reroutes and plugin anchoring videos, we covered the basics of loading in your own third-party instruments and replacing our existing RMS sampler instruments. In the past, if you wanted to add in your own third-party instruments, the only way to do so was using our anchored system. Let's take a look at how that works real quick. I'm going to go to Reroutes. I'm going to view an instrument. We'll say just the bass. Here in the timeline, we can see these red plugin events. I'm going to go into edit mode. We can see here that the first one is bass pits, and then at measure 58, we have bass sus stereo, back to bass pits here, etc. These are our internal RMS patches. And let's go ahead and just take a listen real quick. I will go ahead and solo the bass. Okay, we can hear that pizzicato going. I'll go ahead and drop in this legato patch. And as you can see, when I dropped it in, it anchored itself to that position, replacing that first patch. And if you're curious about how I populated the instruments and patches in these two lists, go back to our first reroutes video and it'll explain everything. Okay? Simple. This is quick and efficient, but doesn't give the user fine-grained editing of the patch layout. As of release 3.1.2.3.4, customers utilizing third-party reroutes now have the option to free drop reroutes into the timeline by holding Option on Mac or Alt on Windows. We'll go and select the patch, drag, hold Alt. As you can see, now we can put it wherever we'd like. And I know there's a note that happens right at measure 5. I'll go ahead and drop it right before that. Note that if we want to move any patch, it's as easy as grabbing and dragging. You can also go here to the selection box and type in the new location. The power of this really comes through when it comes to large third-party instruments with multiple articulations. I'm going to move to Song 8, Joanna. And I've already set up two different versions here. One where I've created some string patches and one where I have a voice patch. I'm going to go ahead and sort by flute R1. Because I know there's a long, unbroken melody here, so we can really hear what's going on. I'll go ahead and open up my contact instrument here, Albion 1. It's a strings patch. And if we look at the patches that I've created, we have a legato one, and I've set the key switch to C-2, a pits one, D-sharp -2, and tremolo. E-2. And you'll notice that each one of these has send key switch turned on. You'll need to turn that on and decide on the key switch. The key switch is established in the instrument itself. Note that every third-party instrument is different, and you will have to wrangle it a bit to get it to do exactly what you want. As we can see, there's a bunch of different articulations in this instrument. So what I did was for this one in particular, held Command and went into legato, and I told it C-2 is going to be the key switch. And then I put C-2 into this box. And then I did similar things for pits and trim, D-sharp -2 for pits, E-2 for trim. I then dropped all these in place. If I go ahead and open up the flute patches, we can see the first one is the RMS flute. And then here in measure 5, we're going to switch to legato, and then pits, and then trim. With this particular instrument, and as I said, every instrument's different, I had to lock the key switches to get this to work. And that would be the case whether you were using it in our software or Logic or DP or, wherever you're doing it. Sinfonia is reacting correctly, but you will need to kind of read about the instrument to make sure that it's going to take the key switch and treat it properly. So let's go ahead and hit play. flute will enter here. We'll switch to legato. Switch to pits. Switch to trem. And here in the next version, I did the same thing, except using this Voice of the Elves patch. And I wanted different vowels. And I had to get in here and understand the key switches and the different modes, solo mode, auto vowels, all that. Again, every instrument's different. You'll have to dig in, make sure you're programming it the correct way. And for a voice Oz, I know that C0 is ah, D0 is E, and E0 is ooh. Let's go ahead and play. And that's how it works. Allowing users to take charge of exactly where they drop their patches makes switching articulations for complex instruments a snap. And as always, with any edit you make in our software, make sure to hit File, Save when you're done editing, and go back to performance mode. This has been Steve with Real-Time Music Solutions. Thanks for watching.